How do you guys define your work relationships separate from your family relationships? Where do those lines blur, if anywhere?
I don't think we ever get to stop working on our farm. We're livestock, so we're 7 days a week constantly working together. We do try to make time, usually on a Sunday afternoon or a Saturday evening, to try and get together every once in a while. But that's the good thing about working with family, is you're always together. And so that's the glorious part of being a farm family, is that you maybe don't have set times for set dinners, but you still get to see your family a lot more than if you weren't farming together. You know, I don't see my sister and I don't see my mom and dad near as much as I do Kevin's family, and that's okay. But, you know, we try to separate on the big holidays to have time together, but you know, that's part of working together, is you get to be with each other and you can tell when someone's in a bad mood and to not maybe go there. Don't say the words you're really thinking, or, you know, decide, well, I'll send a text instead of calling her right now. But that is one thing you have to be careful of, is with, you know, making sure that the way that you communicate is timely and efficient, and that you are talking with everybody, because that has been one of the challenges I think that we may have had, is that sometimes we don't communicate. When there's 5 adults, it's hard to talk to everybody sometimes when you run in different directions.
We do run in different directions. It's kind of funny, because I thought last week Chris was out of the mill and I was sending her information off of my BlackBerry while I was in the barn, and I said, we need to order this and we need to do this and such, and I had already talked to my husband at the mill, and he never told me she wasn't there. But you know, she was in, what, Chicago?
St. Louis.
St. Louis. She was in St. Louis, and I didn't know it, but she was taking care of my order, and I was just telling her what I needed done, and she took care of it right over. She says, no problem, got it done, you know. It's come back in a text to me. So we always know, though, both of us know, on her husband, Kevin, our oldest son, we always know that if he's kind of having one of those days, we just text him.
I'm probably that guy too. when we're really busy during harvest and planting season, when we're going all the time, we just try to take it a little easy, usually with everybody on Sundays especially. But when you get really stressed during harvest, more so than any other time, there's times where you just need to quit and just take a break, quit early. I mean, not quit, quit early one night and just take a little break if you have to do that. Sure, there's times where it gets extremely stressful, but that's the reason that you know, there's nothing you're not going to get through or find a way to move on and solve the problem or solve an argument. You probably argue more being family, but it's easier to move on from because of that too.
They still have to like you.
Well, one thing that might be a little different on our operation that I don't think we have, Dad takes care of this, I take care of this. Brad, to me, runs the farm. It's a day-to-day, he runs it, he's in charge of the seed. I give him some, I kind of view myself as a consultant, but I'm not. I think it's a good thing for me to keep in my mind that I'm here to help him. And I think I hope he feels that way, because I think he's doing a very good job for, you know, for the things I've laid on him. And you know, he could talk to some other people and they'd say, how do you do that? But he's very good. I think a lot of that comes back to the fact that he knows he can always get some help if he needs it, because that's what I'm here for. But you know, you're never going to learn these things unless you get the chance to make the mistake. And a lot of times you learn more from your mistakes than you're being right, because it's, you know, it's kind of like playing cards or go to Vegas and bring home money. You're going to go back and give it back the next time. But you know, as far as being a military type operation with he does this, I do that, I don't feel like that's our farm. We're pretty loose on the fact we know everything's going to get done one way or the other.
How do you handle siblings? Like, I know you mentioned that you have siblings. How do you handle, like, who's more involved on the farm, if somebody's, you know, wife or husband doesn't want to be involved, how do you handle those dynamics?
Well, my sister's not really involved day to day. She's a grain merchandiser here in town for ADM, and she still farms the farm with us. So she's been involved and knows what's going on, and we talk to her a lot. So I really don't have that issue so much. It's probably you do. So I don't know.
We really don't have an issue with it, I don't think. I'm the only daughter-in-law right now in the family, so I guess I run everybody else off. Maybe that's bad. But
My wife started doing, we have a couple kids, and work wasn't working where she was driving so much, and we took on a second employee, and bookwork was really kind of tying up a lot of my time, so that was our decision on our own corporation, that she started doing all the books as well as staying home and not driving, 2,000 miles a week and not really a wash on money. So that was kind of our call, and by doing that, it freed up so much time for me to work and kind of train employees as well. So that really gave me a lot of time.
I think one thing about the siblings, I think it's really important that it doesn't create some animosity or, whatever happens, if it be at the estate or parents or whatever, but we still make our own decisions, and Brad's not involved in what our farm does. So I think that's something that you read a lot about, where you have, a corporation with 6 different kids and they all have a job and they all have a vote. We have not done that yet, and frankly, we don't know what we're going to do with that. But I still want to be in charge of myself.
I was just curious if either of your operations have utilized any non-family either consultants to moderate any legal transition planning or even decision making on a big scale.
well, on our farm, we all know what our expertise is and where that lies, and Gary and Kathy have been very good about it. If they don't feel like they're not the experts, then they ask for outside advice. So we have a consultant veterinarian who helps us make a lot of our decisions. We have a nutritionist that helps us make a lot of our decisions. And we have a marketing consultant as well. And so those are all members of our family farm in our eyes. They all play an important role. We hire them to advise, and it would be silly to pay somebody for advice if you weren't going to take it. So we do use them as well. We also have a legal consultant as well. So we know what we're good at, and that's farming and raising livestock, and some of those other issues we need help with. And so we reach outside and get that help.
We have consulting for marketing and brokerage. I don't know, do you have anything to add on? As far as
I'd be interested to see if Brad thinks we need an outside.
I guess. I don't know.
Put him on the spot.
As far as like transition planning?
That's what I was going to comment on. I've got 3 people that want to help us do that. And it all comes back to they want to help you do it for the money. And I flat won't do that. So I'm still searching for the person that wants to do it to really help us for a smaller amount of money. But
We basically have done that as well. As Chris said, we've got all of these experts in their field that we consult with to help us make our decisions. And so, yeah, we do have the legal consultant, and so it works pretty well for us. As she said, we all have our own pieces of our business that we do the best. And we consult with each other on where we think we need to go with the next step. If we need help with something, I can call Chris and she'll find out certain things for me all the time, because she's got the computer in front of her, I don't, and while I've got my BlackBerry, I gotta know which button to push, you know? So it's things like that, and so what's faster and works the best and easiest for our operation is, you know, we kind of get together and decide in that respect.
You know, we hear a lot that farmers aren't using social media, but all of you mentioned it, and I know I read Chris's blog, and I think the Tour of a Modern Hog Farm video is one of the best examples of farm transparency. So I guess one of my questions is, why did you make the decision to kind of open your farm up to the public, and kind of what effect do you think that will have on future generations on your farms?
Well, we did a virtual tour of our hog farm, and we put the video up live on YouTube. And the reason we did that is because I sat on EPA's Farm, Ranch, and Rural Community Advisory Committee, and I was a member of a 30-member panel, and one of the ladies there told me that a factory farm, her definition of a factory farm was anybody who had a tractor with a cab on it. And she had no idea what we did on our farm or how we raised our animals or the impact that we were or were not having to the environment. So that's why when I came home from the first meeting and I shared that with Gary and Kathy and Kevin, we decided that we needed to do a farm tour. But because of biosecurity and disease issues, we can't bring everybody out to the farm. So we did the virtual tour. And it did have a big impact. The animal rights groups found our video and flagged it as inappropriate content. So it went from being a G rating to an R rating. You had to be over 18 years of age to watch it. You had to be a member of the YouTube community to watch it, which meant that ag teachers were no longer able to embed it onto their school website for kids to see it, which is what that video was really for. And so with the help of American Farm Bureau, Pork Network, and some other PR companies, we used a social media campaign to get that changed. We put it out on Twitter, we put it on Facebook, and we let everybody know how unfair it was for my First Amendment rights to be revoked. And within 24 hours of all of that going live, our video was returned to a G rating. And we had been averaging 1,000 hits a month. When we got the R rating, it went down to less than 100 hits a month. The very first week that we were back up with our G rating, we had over 3,000 hits. So I think we are having an impact. I think it's going to help my children and their cousins be able to come back home to that family farm, because the activist groups are targeting our kids. They're in our schools, they're all over the internet, and they are very unified in their voice. And so I think it's that same group is who we need to be targeting as well to help them see the accurate image of agriculture. Twitter and Facebook and YouTube are great tools to help us do it. You got to have internet access, and where we live in Northeast Missouri, we very limited on cell phone coverage and internet access, so it has been a bigger challenge for us.
And there's nobody better to tell the story you want told than yourself. So, I mean, if you can do anything to make yourself look better, I mean, you're the one that, I'm the one that wants you to know what's going on. And I want you to know the real story and the good story. You know, I don't want you to hear it from a second-hand or third-hand person who doesn't even know where my farm is. So, along those lines, we have landlords that used to live on those farms, and that was one big reason, because they wanted to see what was going on, and they really like it. They get some kind of a feel back to home. They've all came and seen, you know, within the last couple of years they visited, and they probably won't be back in a long time, but this is a way they can see what's going on. And really, to get right down to that point, if you don't have the land to farm, you know, that's really hurting us. So we're trying to do everything we can to make sure they're happy. But the big picture is, just like you said, you got to get the right word out. And every farmer needs to be doing it to fight the people that are trying to put us out of business. And that's a good, pretty easy way to do it.
Very good. Other questions? Answered them all.
I think one of the things that we do that I've benefited from being in the national spotlight as National Corn Growers President, got a lot of contacts around the country, and just this past year that we were fortunate enough, our family was highlighted as the Corn Farmers Coalition, one of the families featured on that. So as a result, they've made a I think it's a 5-minute video of 4 families, and we're one of those families. And it just shows all about families in agriculture, and mostly grain farms on our deal. But those type of things, they take time. We spent a day doing the video, and Brad wasn't real happy, but it comes back to you in a lot of ways. You know, people from the city that know you, and just like Chris was talking, that you end up with so many relationships that, you know, you may never know them all. And what we ended up with, our photo, and individually and as family, was plastered all over Washington, D.C., Union Station and the Metro, and then all over other things in relation to that. So, you know, we're doing our part in different ways, and we've put that up on our Facebook pages and different things. But it really does involve a lot of different ways to do it.